Commander Veltar stared at the screens in front of him. His 4 eyes moved quickly as he read the data. The ship's computers had found something unusual floating in space. It was not supposed to be there. "What is that thing?" he asked his crew. "Doctor?" Catherine looked at his own screen. His blue skin was darker than usual, which meant he was excited. "It appears to be a ship, Commander, but it is very old. Maybe 300 years old." 300 years. Veltar's tail twitched. That was a long time, even for his people who lived much longer than most aliens. "Are there any life signs?" "We are checking now, sir." The young officer at the scanning station was named Yulin. She was new to the ship, but very good at her job. "Commander, I am reading something strange. There is one life form on that ship, but it is in some kind of sleep." Veltar stood up from his chair. His long legs carried him to the main screen. The old ship looked damaged and dark. Most of its hull was broken, and there were holes where weapons had hit it long ago. "What kind of ship is it?" he asked. Kethron worked on his computer for a few minutes. Then his eyes grew wide. "Commander, this is incredible. The markings on the ship, ... they are human." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked at the screen. Human ships were very rare. Humans had disappeared from the galaxy over 200 years ago. Most people thought they were all dead. "Are you sure?" Veltar asked. "Yes, sir. Look at these symbols." Catherine put the images on the main screen. "These are definitely human letters and numbers, and the design of the ship matches what we know about human technology." Veltar walked closer to the screen. He had studied humans in school, but he had never seen a real human ship before. Very few people had. Humans were mysterious. They had appeared in the galaxy suddenly, built many colonies, and then vanished just as quickly. "What about that life form you detected?" he asked Yulin. "It is definitely alive, sir. But the readings are strange. The life form seems to be frozen, but not dead, like it is sleeping in some kind of machine." Dr. Kethron became even more excited. "Commander, this could be the discovery of our lifetime. A real human, preserved from before they disappeared. Think of what we could learn." Veltar thought about this. His people, the Zephyrians, were scientists and explorers. They loved to learn new things. Finding a living human would make them famous across the galaxy, but it could also be dangerous. "Sir," said Security Chief Brixtel. His voice was deep and serious. "We should be careful. We do not know why humans disappeared. Maybe it was for a good reason." "The human is frozen," Catherine said. "It cannot hurt anyone. And think of all the questions we could ask. What was human society like? Why did they leave? Where did they go?" Veltar made his decision. "Bring the ship into our cargo bay, but be very careful. I want all security teams ready, and I want that human watched at all times." The next few hours were busy. The crew used their ship's tractor beam to pull the human ship inside. The old ship was much smaller than their research vessel, but it was built very strong, even after hundreds of years and battle damage. Most of it was still working. Dr. Catherine and his medical team went aboard the human ship. They found it very interesting. The technology was different from what they used, but it seemed very advanced for something so old. "The design is beautiful," Catherine said into his communicator. "Everything is made to work perfectly. No wasted space, no unnecessary parts." They found the frozen human in a special room at the back of the ship. The machine keeping him alive was still working after all these years. The human was a male, and he looked young and strong. He had short brown hair and was wearing some kind of uniform. "His name is Jake Morrison," Yulin said, reading from a small screen near the machine. "He was 34 years old when he was frozen. Can we wake him up safely?" Veltar asked. Dr. Catherine studied the machine for a long time. "I think so. The human body is similar to ours in many ways, and this machine is keeping him healthy. But we should move him to our medical bay first." They carefully moved Jake Morrison to their ship. The medical bay was ready with everything they might need. Dr. Catherine had studied all the information they had about human biology. "Beginning the awakening process now," Catherine announced. The machine began to warm Jake Morrison's body slowly. His heart started beating faster. His breathing became deeper. After an hour, his eyes opened. Jake Morrison looked around the room with confusion. He saw alien faces staring at him. For a moment, he did not move. Then he sat up quickly and looked at his hands. Then, at the aliens around him. "Where am I?" he asked. His voice was rough from the long sleep. "You are safe," Dr. Catherine said, in perfect human English. "We found your ship and brought you here. You have been frozen for a very long time." Jake Morrison looked at each alien carefully. His eyes were sharp and intelligent. "How long?" "About 300 years, Veltar said. Jake Morrison was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, "What happened to Earth? What happened to my people?" The aliens looked at each other. They did not know how to tell him that humans had disappeared from the galaxy, that most people thought his entire species was extinct. "We will explain everything," Veltar said. "But first, you need to rest and get strong again." Jake Morrison nodded slowly, but his eyes never stopped watching the aliens around him. There was something in his look that made Security Chief Brixtel feel uncomfortable. It was the look of someone who was thinking and planning, even while pretending to be weak and confused. None of them realized that waking up Jake Morrison would change everything in the galaxy. They thought they had found a helpless survivor from the past. They had no idea what they had really unleashed. Jake Morrison spent his first day awake in the medical bay. The aliens gave him food and water, and Dr. Catherine checked his health many times. Jake seemed weak and confused, asking simple questions about where he was and what year it was. But Yulene noticed something strange. Jake was learning their language very fast. "Too fast, Commander," she said to Veltar privately. "The human understood what I said to Brixtel in our language. I am sure of it." "That is impossible," Veltar replied. "He has only been awake for one day. No one learns a new language that quickly." "Watch him," Yulin said. "Test him." The next day, Veltar visited Jake in the medical bay. He spoke to Dr. Catherine in Zephyrian language, saying, "The human looks much stronger today." Jake's eyes moved to look at Veltar when he said this. It was just for a second, but Veltar saw it. "Jake," Veltar said in English, "how are you feeling?" "Much better, thank you," Jake replied. He smiled, but his eyes remained sharp and watchful. "I was wondering if I could learn more about what happened while I was asleep. Maybe look at some of your historical records." Dr. Catherine thought this was a good idea. It would help him understand his situation better, he told Veltar. They gave Jake a simple computer terminal in his room. They thought he would need help using it, but Jake figured out how to operate it within minutes. He was supposed to read about recent galactic history, but Security Chief Brixtel noticed that Jake was accessing other files too. "He is reading about our ship systems," Brixtel told Veltar, "and our government structure and military organization." "Maybe he is just curious," Veltar said, but he was starting to worry too. Jake asked many questions during his second day. He wanted to know about the different alien species in the galaxy. He asked about trade routes and which planets had the most advanced technology. He asked about wars and conflicts. "You are very interested in politics for someone who just woke up," Dr. Catherine said with a laugh. "I want to understand the world I am living in now," Jake replied. Everything has changed so much. But his questions were not random. Yulene realized that Jake was asking about things that a military officer would want to know. Information about strengths and weaknesses of different governments. Details about space fleets and defense systems. On the third day, Jake asked to see his old ship. "I would like to get some personal items," he said. "Maybe some clothes that fit better. And there might be other humans in frozen sleep that you missed." This made sense. So Dr. Catherine took Jake to the cargo bay where his ship was stored. Jake walked through his old ship like he knew exactly where everything was. He found a small bag with clothes and personal items. But engineer P.L. Tonix noticed that Jake also touched several wall panels and computer interfaces as he walked around. Each time he touched something, lights would blink on the panel. "What are you doing?" P.L. asked. "Just checking if any of my old systems still work," Jake said. "This ship has been my home for a long time." That night, strange things began happening on the research vessel. Computers would turn on by themselves. Doors would open and close for no reason. The ship's communication system picked up signals that no one had sent. "Something is wrong with our computers," the chief engineer reported to Veltar. At the same time, Dr. Catherine made a discovery in the medical bay. He was running more tests on Jake's blood and found something impossible. "Commander, you need to see this," he said urgently. Veltar came to the medical bay immediately. "Jake's blood contains things that should not exist," Dr. Catherine explained. "Tiny machines, very advanced ones. They are repairing damage in his body and making him stronger. Machines in his blood." Veltar could not believe it. "Yes, and they are more advanced than anything we have ever seen. This technology is hundreds of years ahead of what we can build." Veltar felt cold fear in his stomach, but his ship looked old. The humans were supposed to be primitive compared to us. "I do not think they were primitive at all," Dr. Catherine said quietly. That evening, Jake sat in his room, looking at the computer terminal, but he was not reading the files they had given him. Somehow, he had accessed the ship's main computer system. He was reading crew records, ship blueprints, and classified mission reports. Yulene was monitoring him from the security station. She watched Jake's reflection in his room's window and saw him smile. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had just learned everything he wanted to know. "Commander," she called Veltar urgently. "You need to come to security right now." When Veltar arrived, Yulin showed him what Jake was doing. "He has access to our entire computer system," she said. "Everything. Our weapons, our navigation, our communication codes. How is this possible?" Veltar stared at the screens. Jake Morrison, the primitive human they had rescued, was reading their most secret files as easily as a children's book. "And look at this," Yulin continued. She pointed to another screen. "Those signals our communication system has been picking up. They are not random. Jake is sending them. Sending them where? I do not know. But they are going to different parts of the galaxy. It is like he is talking to someone." Veltar's hands were shaking. "Get Security Chief Brixtel now." When Brixtel arrived, Veltar explained the situation. "We have made a terrible mistake," Veltar said. "Jake Morrison is not a helpless survivor. He is something else entirely." Brixtel looked at the security monitors showing Jake in his room. Jake was still sitting calmly at his computer, but now they could see that he was working on multiple screens at once. His hands moved very fast, and he seemed to understand their technology better than they did. "What do we do?" Brixtel asked. Before Veltar could answer, Jake looked up from his computer and stared directly at the security camera. Even though he could not see them, it felt like he was looking right at them. Then he waved. The lights in the security room flickered. All the screens went dark for a moment. When they came back on, there was a message displayed in perfect Cephrian language. "Hello, Commander Veltar. We need to talk." None of them had taught Jake how to write in their language. He had learned it by himself in 3 days, and somehow, he had taken control of their ship's communication system from his locked room. Veltar realized that they were no longer Jake's rescuers. They were his prisoners, and they had no idea what he really wanted or what he was capable of doing. Commander Veltar walked slowly to Jake Morrison's room. His security team followed behind him, but he knew their weapons would not help if Jake was really as dangerous as he seemed. The door opened before Veltar could press the button. Jake was sitting calmly at his desk. But now he had 3 computer screens working, instead of 1. All of them showed information that should have been impossible for him to access. "Please, sit down," Jake said in perfect Cepharian language. "We have a lot to discuss." Veltar stayed standing. "How did you learn our language so quickly?" Jake smiled. "The same way I learned to use your computers. Your people are very smart, but you think in simple ways. You believe that, because my ship looked old, I must be primitive. You were wrong." "What are you?" Dr. Kethrin asked. He had come with Veltar because he needed to understand what Jake really was. "I am exactly what I told you," Jake replied, switching back to English. "My name is Jake Morrison. I was 34 when I was frozen, but I did not tell you everything about my job." Jake touched one of his screens. Suddenly, the room's main display showed an image of a man in a military uniform. The uniform had many medals and symbols of high rank. "This is Admiral Ryan Stone," Jake said. "He was my commanding officer, and this was my real job." The screen changed to show Jake in the same type of uniform, but his uniform was different. It had special symbols that none of the aliens recognized. "Strategic Operations Command," Jake explained. "I was not a regular soldier. I was part of a very special unit. Our job was to watch other species in the galaxy and protect human interests." "Protect them from what?" Veltar asked. "From species that might become a threat to humanity," Jake said simply. "Like yours." The room became very quiet. "Security Chief." Brickstell moved his hand closer to his weapon, but Jake noticed and shook his head. "That will not help you," Jake said. "Your weapons use energy systems that I can control with my thoughts. The machines in my blood are connected to every computer on this ship now." To prove his point, Brickstall's weapon powered down by itself. Then the lights in the room dimmed and brightened again. "How is this possible?" Dr. Kethrin whispered. "Because humans did not disappear from the galaxy," Jake explained. "We evolved. We became something more than what we were when you first met us 300 years ago." Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, they could see stars. But now there were other lights moving among them. Ships that had not been there before. "I was frozen during a long-range reconnaissance mission," Jake continued. "My job was to sleep for 300 years, then wake up and evaluate how galactic civilization had developed. I was supposed to determine if humanity should make contact again, or if you had become too dangerous." "And what have you decided?" Veltar asked, though he was afraid of the answer. Jake turned around. His expression was not angry, but it was very serious. "Your people found me floating in space. Instead of trying to communicate as equals, you decided I was a specimen to study. You treated me like an animal in a cage. You thought I was primitive and helpless." "We were trying to help you," Dr. Kethrin protested. "Were you?" Jake asked. "Or were you excited about the chance to experiment on the last human in the galaxy?" Dr. Kethrin could not answer, because Jake was right. Jake touched his computer screen again. This time it showed recordings from the ship's security cameras. They could see themselves talking about Jake when they thought he could not hear them. "You called me a specimen," Jake said, pointing to Dr. Kethrin on the recording. "You said I was primitive. You discussed what experiments you wanted to perform on me." The recordings continued. They showed the crew laughing about how confused and helpless Jake seemed. They showed Dr. Kethrin taking blood samples while Jake was unconscious. "You never asked my permission," Jake said. "You just assumed you had the right to do whatever you wanted with me because I was alone and seemed weak." Veltar felt ashamed. Jake was right about everything. "So what happens now?" Veltar asked. Jake walked back to his computer. "Now I complete my mission. I send my report to the Human Colonial Authority." The screen showed a star map of the galaxy, but this map was different from any the aliens had seen before. It showed human colonies in places where they thought no one lived. Hundreds of them. "Humans never left the galaxy," Jake explained. "We just stopped talking to everyone else." We have been growing and learning in secret for 300 years. We have been watching all of you. Watching us, Yulin asked. Of course. Did you think we would just disappear without making sure the galaxy remained safe? We have observers everywhere. On every major planet, in every government, in every military. Jake pointed to different stars on the map. We have colonies with billions of people. We have technology that makes your best ships look like toys. We have been preparing. Preparing for what? Veltar asked. For the day when we would have to decide what to do about the rest of galactic civilization, Jake replied. Whether to guide you, protect you, or ... He did not finish the sentence, but everyone understood what he meant. Another screen activated, showing Jake's old ship in the cargo bay, but now the ship looked different. Systems that had seemed broken were working again. Lights were flashing in patterns along the hull. My ship has been repairing itself since you brought it aboard, Jake said, and it has been talking to other human ships that are watching this area. Other ships, Brixton asked. As if in answer to his question, the research vessel's alarms began sounding. Yulin ran to check her instruments. Commander, she called out. There are ships appearing all around us. They just ... appeared out of nowhere. Jake smiled. Stealth technology. We have been improving it for 3 centuries. On the main screen, they could see sleek, beautiful ships materializing in space around them. The ships were clearly human in design, but they were far more advanced than anything Jake's old ship had been. My awakening sent an automatic signal, Jake explained. Standard protocol when a reconnaissance agent is discovered. These ships have been watching you since the moment you found me. What do they want? Veltar asked. They want to know what? I have decided about your species, Jake said. Whether you are peaceful explorers who made an honest mistake, or whether you are the kind of people who would capture and experiment on other intelligent beings. Jake sat back down at his computer. His fingers moved quickly over the controls. I am writing my report now, he said. What I write will determine how humanity deals with your people and all the other species in this galaxy. The room was silent, except for the soft sounds of Jake typing. Everyone realized that the fate of their entire civilization might depend on what this one human decided to write in his report, and they had no idea whether Jake Morrison thought they deserved mercy or punishment. Jake Morrison finished typing his report and leaned back in his chair. The alien crew watched him nervously, knowing that whatever he had written would change their lives forever. Report complete, Jake said. He touched a button on his screen. Sending now? Immediately, all the screens in the room lit up with incoming messages. The human ships outside were responding to Jake's report. What did you tell them? Commander Veltar asked. Before Jake could answer, a new voice spoke from the communication system. It was another human voice, female and very calm. This is Captain Lisa Hayes of the human colonial ship Destiny. Jake Morrison, please respond. Jake smiled for the first time since revealing his true identity. Hello, Lisa. Good to hear your voice again. Jake, we received your report. Are you in immediate danger? No, Jake replied, looking at the worried aliens around him. The situation is under control, but we need to implement Protocol 7. There was a pause. Then Lisa's voice came back, more serious than before. Protocol 7 confirmed. We are beginning activation now. Veltar did not understand what Protocol 7 meant, but he could see Jake's expression becoming harder and more determined. Jake, Veltar said carefully, what is Protocol 7? It means that humanity is officially returning to galactic affairs, Jake replied. Your actions toward me have convinced us that the current galactic civilization is not ready to be left alone. Suddenly, the ship shook, not from weapons or damage, but as if something very large had grabbed it. We are being pulled toward one of the human ships, Yulin reported from her station. I cannot break free. Do not try, Jake warned. You will only damage your engines. On the main screen, They could see that the research vessel was being drawn into the cargo bay of a human ship that was 10 times larger. The human ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Its hull seemed to be made of metal that changed color, like liquid. "How many people are on that ship?" Dr. Catherine asked. "About 50,000, Jake replied casually. "It is a small exploration vessel." The aliens stared at him in shock. Their research ship only had a crew of 30 people. A human ship with 50,000 crew members was bigger than most space stations. "Jake," came Lisa's voice again, "we are ready to receive the aliens for processing." "Processing?" Veltar asked quickly. "What kind of processing?" Jake stood up and walked to the door. "You will be questioned about your government, your military, and your intentions toward humanity. Do not worry. We do not plan to hurt you, unless you give us a reason to." Security Chief Brickstall stepped forward. "We will not cooperate with this." Jake looked at him with pity. "You do not have a choice. But I will give you some advice. Tell the truth. My people are very good at detecting lies." The research vessel finished moving into the human ship's cargo bay. Through the windows, they could see human soldiers in advanced armor waiting for them. The armor made them look bigger and stronger than any alien species. "Before we go," Jake said, "there are some things you should know about what is going to happen next." He activated one of his screens again. This time it showed a map of the entire galaxy, but with thousands of new dots of light. "Every dot you see is a human colony or outpost," Jake explained. "We have been building them for 300 years while you thought we were extinct." The number of dots was incredible. There were more human settlements than all the other species combined. "This dot here," Jake pointed to a location near the center of the galaxy, "is our capital world. It has a population of 12 billion humans." 12 billion, Veltar whispered. "But our intelligence report said humans were extinct." "Your intelligence was wrong about many things," Jake said. "We wanted you to think we were gone. It made it easier for us to watch and learn without interference." Another screen showed images of human cities that looked like they belonged in a dream. Buildings that reached into the clouds, ships that moved without making sound, technology that seemed like magic. "We did not just survive," Jake continued. "We became something better. We eliminated disease, extended our lifespans, and enhanced our bodies with technology. Every human you will meet is stronger, smarter, and faster than we were 3 centuries ago." Dr. Catherine thought about the tiny machines he had found in Jake's blood. The nanomachines. All humans have them now. Since birth, Jake confirmed. They repair our bodies, enhance our minds, and connect us to our technology. That is how I was able to control your computers so easily. The door to their room opened. 3 human soldiers entered. They were tall and moved with perfect coordination. Their armor had no visible weapons, but somehow the aliens knew these humans were more dangerous than any army. "Commander Velta," one of the soldiers said in perfect Zephyrian language, "please come with us. You will be questioned first." Veltar looked at Jake. "Will I see my crew again?" "That depends on what you tell us," Jake replied, "and what we discover about your government's true intentions." As Veltar was led away, Jake activated another communication channel. This time, multiple human voices could be heard talking quickly in a language the aliens did not recognize. "What are they saying?" Yulene asked. "They are coordinating the awakening," Jake explained. "All across the galaxy, human agents who have been sleeping in hidden bases are being activated. Human ships that have been waiting in dark space are powering up. In a few hours, every major government in the galaxy will know that humanity has returned." "Awakening?" Dr. Catherine asked. Jake nodded. "For 300 years, we have had people watching every species, every government, every military. They have been pretending to be traders, diplomats, scientists, even refugees. Today, they stopped pretending." The ship shook again as more human vessels arrived. Through the windows, They could see an entire fleet materializing. Some ships were massive warships, with weapons that gleamed like stars. Others were smaller and faster, designed for stealth and reconnaissance. "How many ships do you have?" Yulin asked. "In this sector, about 200, Jake replied. "Across the galaxy, several million." The numbers were overwhelming. The combined fleets of all galactic governments had maybe 10,000 ships total. Humanity had an army that was hundreds of times larger. "Why reveal yourselves now?" Dr. Catherine asked. "Why not continue hiding?" Jake's expression became sad. "Because we have been watching for 300 years, and we have seen enough. The galaxy is becoming more violent. Species are fighting over resources instead of sharing them. Governments are becoming corrupt and cruel." He gestured toward the aliens. "And species like yours, who should be wise and peaceful, are capturing other intelligent beings for experiments. The galaxy needs guidance." "Guidance from humans?" Brixtel asked angrily. "Yes," Jake said simply. "We have proven that we can build a better civilization. We have eliminated war among ourselves. We have learned to share resources fairly. We have become the species we always had the potential to be." Another soldier entered the room. "Jake Morrison, Director Kate Sullivan wants to speak with you immediately." Jake nodded. "The director is here. This must be more serious than I thought." As Jake prepared to leave, he turned back to the remaining aliens. "Your friend Veltar is probably being asked about your government's military capabilities right now," he said. "I suggest you think carefully about what you will say when it is your turn. The future of your entire species may depend on your honesty." With that, Jake left the room, and the aliens were alone with the knowledge that they had accidentally started something that would change the galaxy forever. Jake Morrison walked through the corridors of the human ship toward the command center. The walls seemed to glow with soft light, and the air felt clean and fresh. Everything was designed perfectly, with no wasted space or unnecessary decorations. He passed other humans in the hallways. All of them nodded respectfully to him. Jake had been asleep for 3 centuries, but these people knew who he was and what his mission meant. When Jake reached the command center, he saw Director Kate Sullivan waiting for him. She was a tall woman with silver hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. Jake had worked with her before his long sleep, and he was glad to see a familiar face. "Jake," she said with a smile, "welcome back to the waking world." "Thank you, Director," Jake replied, "though I wish the circumstances were better." Kate's expression became serious. "I have read your report. The aliens treated you as a laboratory specimen. That changes everything." Jake nodded. "I know, but some of them seem to realize they made a mistake. The Commander Veltar appears to be a decent person who was just following his scientific curiosity." "Perhaps," Kate said, "but individual decency is not enough. We need to evaluate their entire civilization." She led Jake to a large window that looked out into space. What Jake saw took his breath away. Hundreds of human ships had gathered in this sector. Some were so large they looked like small moons. Others were sleek and fast, designed for speed and stealth. "The entire 5th Fleet?" Jake asked. "And the 7th, and parts of the 2nd, Kate confirmed. "When your awakening signal reached us, President Marcus Webb decided this was too important for a small response." Jake felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "What have you learned from questioning the aliens?" Kate handed him a datapad. "Their commander Veltar has been very cooperative. He admits they made mistakes in how they treated you. He seems genuinely sorry." Jake read through the interrogation reports, and the others. Mixed results. The Dr. Cathron is excited about human technology, but seems to view us as interesting specimens rather than equals. The security chief Brixtel is suspicious and hostile. He believes we are a threat to galactic peace. "He is not wrong about that," Jake said quietly. Kate smiled. No, he is not. The question is whether we are a beneficial threat or a dangerous one. She led Jake to another room, where they could see the alien crew being held. They were in comfortable quarters, not prison cells, but they were clearly not free to leave. What about their government? Jake asked. That is the real problem, Kate replied. The Zephyrian Republic has been conducting secret experiments on other species for decades. They capture refugees, lost travelers, anyone they can find, and study them like animals. Jake felt anger building inside him. How many? Hundreds. Maybe thousands. Different species from across the galaxy. They tell themselves it is for scientific advancement, but it is really just curiosity, without conscience. Kate showed Jake more reports on her datapad, and they are not the only ones. The Corvan Empire has been enslaving primitive species. The Theo Confederation has been stealing resources from worlds that cannot defend themselves. So the galaxy has not improved in our absence, Jake said. It has gotten worse, Kate confirmed. Without humanity, as an example of cooperation and fairness, the other species have become more selfish and cruel. They walked to the main command room, where dozens of humans were working at advanced computers. The screens showed information from across the galaxy. Agent reports are coming in from everywhere, Kate explained. Our people have been revealing themselves as planned. Every major government now knows that humanity has returned. What are their reactions? Fear, mostly, and anger that we deceived them for so long. Several governments are mobilizing their fleets. Jake looked at the tactical displays. Even combined, all the other species in the galaxy could not match human military power. But a war would cause terrible destruction. There has to be another way, Jake said. Kate nodded. President Webb agrees. He wants to avoid violence, if possible. But that means we need to convince them to accept human authority peacefully. Human authority. Jake, we cannot go back to hiding. Not after what we have learned. The galaxy needs proper leadership, and we are the only species capable of providing it. President Marcus Webb's voice suddenly filled the room. He was speaking from the capital world, but his image appeared as a hologram in front of them. Director Sullivan, Commander Morrison, he said, I have been reviewing the situation reports. How do you assess our options? Jake stood at attention. Mr. President, I believe we have three choices. We can withdraw again and leave the galaxy to its current path. We can use force to impose order. Or we can try to guide the other species toward better behavior. And what do you recommend? Jake thought about Commander Velter and his crew. They had made mistakes, but they were not evil people. They just needed to learn how to be better. Guidance, sir, but with clear consequences for those who refuse to improve. President Webb nodded. I agree. Kate, begin implementing the integration protocol. Yes, Mr. President. After the president's image disappeared, Kate explained what the integration protocol meant. We will offer every species a choice, she said. They can join the human commonwealth as junior partners. We will help them improve their technology, eliminate poverty and disease, and learn to live peacefully. In exchange, they must accept human oversight and follow our ethical guidelines. And if they refuse, then they will be isolated. No trade, no technology sharing, no contact with Commonwealth worlds. They can continue their current behavior, but only among themselves. Jake understood. It was not conquest, but it was not freedom either. Humanity would become the dominant force in the galaxy, guiding other species like parents, guiding children. What about our crew? Jake asked. Veltar and his people. They will be the first test case, Kate replied. We will offer their government a choice. Join the Commonwealth and accept human guidance, or be cut off from the rest of galactic civilization. Jake walked back to the window and looked out at the human fleet. Each ship represented thousands of people who had been working toward this moment for 3 centuries. Humanity had become something greater than what they once were, and now they had the power to reshape the galaxy. But Jake wondered if having the power to do something meant they should do it. The other species had the right to make their own choices, even if those choices were wrong. "Director," Jake said finally, "I want to speak with Commander Veltar before any final decisions are made." "Of course. But remember, Jake, we cannot undo what has already begun. Humanity has revealed itself. The galaxy will never be the same." As Jake prepared to meet with the alien commander one last time, he realized that waking him up had indeed been a mistake for the aliens. Not because Jake was dangerous, but because his awakening had started a chain of events that would end with humanity ruling the galaxy. The question now was whether humanity would be wise rulers or simply powerful ones, and that decision would affect billions of lives across thousands of worlds. Jake Morrison, the human they thought was a helpless relic from the past, had become the person who would help decide the future of galactic civilization. The responsibility was enormous, but he was ready to carry it. After all, that was what humans did. They took responsibility for making things better, even when it was difficult and dangerous, even when it meant ruling over those who did not want to be ruled.